So a 13-cent tax increase is proposed for the upcoming fiscal year. What happens next year? Do you expect the increase to pass the full commission? Do you think that this is going to be our only increase, or do you see this as the beginning of ongoing tax increases in Jefferson County?
This is really the first step to a very fiscally unsound budget in operation of Jefferson County. The 13 cents doesn't actually cover anything. If you'll remember back when they wanted to give the schools $65 million, I said this can't be done without a property tax increase. The reason it can't be done is because Jefferson County doesn't have a pool of funds sufficient, nor do they have the everyday or every year income coming in that can sustain that much going out. It was very poor, very fiscally unsound, managerially unsound, and 13 cents actually does not cover what it needs to cover this year. All it's doing is pushing out the inevitable into the future, which is going to mean that we probably this year should have looked at, realistically, maybe around a 50 cents tax increase to handle what County Commission has done, and they have failed to grasp it. It's what happens when you have people that don't have experience, but yet they have 11 votes.
On the landfill issue, it appears from discussion in County Commission meetings that much of the Commission is uninformed or taking the deficit lightly. Can we afford the landfill? And how are we going to meet our financial obligation for closure with the state?
That's an excellent question. It also brings up a concern that all residents of the county should have, and that is to the fiscal responsibility that the legislative body is dealing with the issues that are very sensitive and yet have a dramatic impact on our prosperity or our lack of prosperity in this county. When it comes to the landfill, I would dare say there's probably not any commissioners that are aware of what we're talking about when we're talking about what the comptroller's office and what the audit has brought up year after year. I brought it up early on in my term of office because I knew at that time that it was a very real issue, and if we didn't address it and didn't deal with it, it was going to continue to get worse. It's one of those things that you can't ignore. At some point in time, you're going to have to pay for it. The landfill is a very expensive operation to have. It's very beneficial as far as the service that's being provided, but there's a cost that's associated with that, and Jefferson County and the legislative body has turned their heads and not dealt with it.
Jefferson County High School just had a roof collapse. Where do you feel that the responsibility lies? And is this going to be another sense of contention between the school board and the county commission, or do you think that this is a shared responsibility between the two bodies?
I think since by law we have a school board and we also have a legislative body, it has to be shared. The good times have to be shared as well as the more difficult times. The fact that the two bodies can't get together and make good decisions are something that's a concern to me as mayor, and me as a taxpayer, and me as a resident. It should be of everybody that lives in this county. The tragic events that have taken place at the schools are due to a lack of planning that has not been put in place, nor is there any attempt to put a plan into place. Everything that we're operating on, both school board and county commission, has been based on personalities and on their own individual desires rather than the desires to see a job done and done properly. The collapse of the vocational building was something that was in part, and I don't know what percentage in part, but in part to the lack of maintenance to keep the drains clean. You've got to have routine maintenance. It's like I have expressed to you earlier and a lot of other people over the last several years. I went to the old high school, and that's in better shape than the newer high school. That tells me that somebody's paying attention to the maintenance at one facility, but they're not doing it at the other facility. And something has to be done because we're going further and further in the hole.
There is a large call in Jefferson County for open records from the County Commission and EDOC. Where do you stand on the issue, and do you feel that the makeup of EDOC, being from county elected officials and city elected officials, opens them up to open records? Or do you feel like they have an obligation to the citizens of Jefferson County because they receive taxpayer money?
You know, there's parts of operations that need to be dealt with in a very sensitive manner, such as personnel issues. I understand that we operate under the Sunshine Law, open meetings law here in the state of Tennessee. And I don't agree when it comes to personnel issues, because when you're dealing with a personnel issue, it impacts and affects an entire family. And some innocent people can be involved, and there's no need in that. But anything that has to do with funding, any projects, any purchases of land, any negotiations for anything that is using any public funds should be open to the public at any time. EDOC itself, I'm not a member of that board. I understand why it was created, but whether it's EDOC or the Chamber of Commerce, a call for disclosure of salaries and funds and how it's spent should be made public. These and a lot of other issues face Jefferson County and our residents. I, as well as many other residents in the community, have a very deep and sincere interest in what happens with our future. It's not too late for us to work out the problems, but we've got to start acting now, and we've got to act in a responsible way, not irresponsibly like we have in the past. These many issues that we've discussed today and many other issues need to be addressed, and I'm in hopes that we'll be able to do so in the very near future. Thank you. I'd like to thank the Jefferson County Post for providing me with an opportunity to express some of the concerns I have about Jefferson County, our budget, and some issues that are vital to our community.